Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, my Dandavat pranams to everybody. Hare Krishna, welcome, welcome. Today is Tuesday, 22nd of July, 2025. And today is the Turabhav of our dearmost, we can say like God brother, Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj. So he left this world a few years ago, and he was one of the greatest sevaks of my Gurudev. He joined the mutt when he was very young, about 10 or 11 years old, and immediately he began to learn all the verses, be able to speak very eloquently. He could perform any task that was needed. He would clean the toilets, he would do building work, but particularly he was a speaker, and he would organize the parikramas, he would arrange for he would do everything. He was like Sevak Ananda. He was constantly immersed in seva to my Gurudev. But he left suddenly, about 5-7 years ago. I'm not sure of the exact date of his leaving, but very great sevak of my Gurudev. So Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So now coming to our subject matter of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu in the 7th chapter. Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Kadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahaja Virupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swabalasa Rupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavarati Nokalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam. Hari Purata Sundarati Kadambas Dipita, Sada Kadare Kandare Skuratu Vasachinandanaha. Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apetykrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Matayo Tarabhogenidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimaratoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadhi Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vrindam Ajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurasmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharatram Tatonastikatina Kapi Tavaivasmi Vajivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayavam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Adi-lila Pravishta Om Astau Tadasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our dear most beloved Adi-lila Pravishta Om Astau Tadasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And unto our dear most Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and unto all the Upanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhuvevacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So in this ecstatic chapter, I think it's ecstatic because he really, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is really purifying this misconception basically of being the body on the bodily platform and trying to enjoy matter. Ultimately this is a Mayavad conception, but the hardcore Mayavads are being described in this chapter 7. So we've come through from the spiritual masters in the first chapter, establishing Mahaprabhu as that Supreme Lord in the second chapter. The third chapter was the external reasons for
Mahaprabhu's advent. The 4th chapter was the internal reasons. 5th was Nityananda. 6th was Advaitacharya. And now the 7th is the Panchatattva in 5 features. Mahaprabhu in 5 features. So here Mahaprabhu is tackling or purifying, we can say, the Mayavadis in Varanasi. Thousands and thousands of Mayavadis in in Varanasi. And especially the commentaries here by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada are really significant and purifying any misconceptions. Even though Mahaprabhu is speaking to these sannyasis as the Mayavadis, but we should understand what is the Mayavad tendency that I have within me that wants to enjoy matter. Do I still have some tendency to enjoy matter? If that's there, then this chapter is very, very beneficial, because it's highlighting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as that supreme enjoyer. And we are particles coming from that supreme enjoyer, like sparks coming from the fire. And we can never be like the fire. But if we offer service to the Lord, we have the same qualities as the fire. The little spark, if it catches some grass, it can make a huge fire. So similarly, the Jivatma, even though he's a spark, he can set ablaze the whole planet with devotional conceptions, just like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada did, like all of our acharyas have done, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, etc., my Gurudev. So all of these, this potency is latent within the jiva. But if the jiva becomes enamored by his own spiritual prowess, which can happen certainly on this path of devotional service, Krishna will give us some little drops of realizations, and that might make us feel proud of our situation. And even then, still this Mayavad tendency can come in to consider that we are the controllers, to look for pleasure in the material world. So all of this is pertinent for us, as well as the sannyasis that Mahaprabhu is specifically purifying. So text 115, chapter 7.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Prakrita Kariyamane Vishnu Kalavara Vishnu Ninda Ara Nahi Ihara Upara.
Translation. This is where we're up to?
Yes.
Okay. One who considers the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu to be made of material nature is the greatest offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. There is no greater blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because one is not appreciating his position. We've come into this material world, understand the history, we've come into this material world because we specifically wanted to be like God. We wanted to enjoy matter. That was our intention. From the Brahmajyoti, we saw the glittering allurement of this Mayic illusory world, and we wanted to be there under the influence and to be as if we were God. This is why we've come in to this world, to try and enjoy. This body is matter. It's temporary. So there can be no question of it actually being God ever. It's always temporary. But the nature of the conditioned jiva becomes illusioned by this desire to be like God. Therefore, he tries to bring Lord Vishnu, it's saying here, but it's Krishna, down to the same level that he's on, of being material. One who considers the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu to be made of material nature is the greatest offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. There is no greater blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami explains that the variegated personal feature of the Absolute Truth is the Vishnu Tattva. It's variegated. That means there's many aspects to it. It's not impersonal. And that the material energy which creates this cosmic manifestation is the energy of Lord Vishnu. There's Lord Vishnu and there's his energy. So it's the energy that is creating this material world. The creative force is merely the energy of the Lord. It's separate, in fact, to the Lord. It's called Swarup Shakti. But the foolish conclude that because the Lord has distributed himself in an impersonal form, because he's also a manifestation of the Brahmajyoti, that's also his effulgence, so this also is there. To be complete, one must be impersonal and personal. There must be both to be omnipotent. We're going to discuss this. Impersonal form, he has no separate existence. The impersonal Brahman, however, cannot possess energies. There's no energies within the impersonal Brahman. There's no sambandha, we've said so many times before. It's just a abstract space. There's no energies there. Shantaras is there, which is neutrality. Neutrality means there's no subject and object. It's just neutral, bland, nothing. The impersonal Brahman, however, cannot possess energies, nor do the Vedic literatures state that Maya, the illusory energy, is covered by another Maya. There are hundreds and thousands of references, however, to Vishnu Maya, Parasya Shakti, or the energy of Lord Vishnu. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Krishna refers to Mama Maya, my, he's saying my energy. So there's Krishna and there's his energy. There's two forces at play here, Krishna and his energy. Maya is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not that he is covered by Maya at any time. Therefore, Lord Vishnu cannot be a product of the material energy. In the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra, it is said, Janmadi Asya Yata, indicating that the material energy is also an emanation of the Supreme Brahman. Because if the impersonalists are trying to be like God, how is it that they're covered by this material energy which is manifesting from God? Understand? This Mayic energy is coming from God. So how can that be covering the covered jiva? This is what they think. Indicates that the material energy is also an emanation of the Supreme Brahman. How then could he be covered by the material energy? So if he's the manifestation of this material energy, how can he be covered by it himself? In other words, if I am thinking I am God, how come I'm covered by my own material energy? It doesn't make sense. If that were possible, material energy would be greater than the Supreme Brahman. So simple. Even these simple arguments, however, cannot be understood by the Mayavadi philosophers, and therefore the term Mayaya Pakrita Gyan, which is applied to them in the Bhagavad Gita, is extremely appropriate. Anyone who thinks that Lord Vishnu is a product of the material energy, as explained by Sadananda Yogindra, should immediately be understood to be insane, for his knowledge has been stolen by the illusory energy. That's the meaning of this word, Mayaya Pakrita Gyan. His knowledge has been stolen by the illusory energy because of his desire to enjoy matter. It's not that Krishna wants to punish anybody, but if the jiva is so intent on trying to usurp Krishna's position, Krishna is going to give him that opportunity. Okay, do that. Krishna will give us anything we want. It's very dangerous. It's like a razor's edge. What do you want? What do you really want? Krishna will fulfill your innermost desire. He's ready for that. That's why we have to craft our focus, our compass has to be set very clearly. What is it that I actually, with all my sanity, desire? It has to be set carefully. That is called sadhan bhakti. This is why we study the Shastra. Lord Vishnu cannot be placed within the category of the demigods. Those who are actually bewildered by the Mayavadi philosophers and are still in darkness of ignorance consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod. This is like the Devas themselves consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod. They don't offer him complete submission when he appears. Even they understand that perhaps Krishna in Vrindavan is like an aspect of Lord Vishnu, and when Indra, he inundates Govardhan, tries to murder all the residents, he comes to apologize. And then afterwards, Krishna asks him for a parijat flower, and he refuses. So what is the sincerity of the Devas in their worship of Vishnu? It's not there. Still in the darkness of ignorance, consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod. In defiance of the Rig Veda mantra, Om Tad Vishnu Param Padam, Vishnu is always in the superior position. He is the supreme. He's always there. This is the vital core which even apparently advanced devotees on this path don't always realize fully. If we were realizing this in every activity of our day, we would be fully submissive to the Lord's arrangements and directions. Constantly would we just encompassed by his embrace, moment by moment. But most of us are not, because we still harbor the desire to be the controllers. This mantra is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mata Parataramnanyet Kischid Asti Jananjaya. There is no truth superior to Lord Krishna or Vishnu. Prabhupada is relating to Vishnu and Krishna as the same. Vishnu is an aspect on the way to Krishna, so to speak. Lord Vishnu is like the Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu. This is what it's referencing. Beyond Mahavishnu is Lord Narayan. Beyond Lord Narayan is Goloka Vrindavan, or is the Vaikuntha planets. Beyond the Vaikuntha planets is Goloka Vrindavan. And within the Goloka Vrindavan is Lord Krishna himself in Madhurya mood. So all these are distinctions about Lord Vishnu. But in general terms, Vishnu and Krishna we can take as being synonymous in this understanding. Thus, only those whose knowledge has been bewildered consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod, and therefore suggest that one may worship either Lord Vishnu or Goddess Kali or whomever he likes to achieve the same result. This is like in India. In India, they think that, we can worship anyone, we'll have the same result, because they're uneducated. They think I can worship Vishnu, I can worship Suryadev, I can worship Ganesh, I can worship Durga Ma. All of these personalities are worshipped throughout India, and the uneducated populace are considering them all the same. The whole world is lacking in education. This is the principal necessity of the world, is to educate. This is why we print and publish so many books. This is an ignorant conclusion that is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita, which distinctly says, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan, Yanti Mad Yagno Imam. The worshippers of the demigods will be promoted to the respective planets of the demigods. Understand Swagaloka and its actual position. We've spoken before about Swagaloka. It's Bhoga Yoni. It's the planet, the species. Yoni means species. The species of enjoyment. They're enjoying celestial pleasures in Swagaloka. They're not spiritual. Brihaspati is Brahman realized. They're not performing yajna. They do take shelter of Krishna. They understand that Vishnu is going to save us in any crisis. And they call for Vishnu, but they don't understand his real identity. They just think he's a great demigod who has a Sudarshan chakra and can clear the demons away from their door. The worshippers of the demigods will be promoted to the respective planets of the demigods, but devotees of the Supreme Lord will go back home, back to Godhead. that is so far beyond Swagaloka. Swagaloka is just the very beginning. Even beyond Swagaloka, within this material realm, there is Mahaloka, then Janaloka, then Tapaloka, and then Brahmaloka, or Satyaloka. So all these planetary systems are there. And then beyond there is Vaikuntha. And even in Vaikuntha, which is a glorified place of liberation also, having Samipya, Sharsti, Sarupya, Salokya, these 4 liberations are there. And this was the goal of most sadhaks, or the rishis, was to attain maximum Vaikuntha. And we are, by Mahaprabhu's mercy, aiming for something much more beyond Vaikuntha. This we really have to put in context. Lord Krishna explains very clearly in the Bhagavad Gita that his material energy is very difficult to overcome. Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Very difficult to overcome. Maya's influence is so strong that even learned scholars and spiritualists are also covered by Maya and think themselves to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We even have the story of Lord Brahma himself, the first progenitor in this world, in this universe, to come under the illusion of chasing his own daughter Bak. So this shows the potency of Maya. Even someone who is involved very much in their sadhana bhakti can be covered by the illusory energy. Unless we're connected to Krishna in devotion, this illusory energy can hijack us. Actually, however, to free oneself from the influence of Maya, one must surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita, Mam eviye prapadyante mayam etam tarantute. It is to be concluded, therefore, that Lord Vishnu does not belong to this material creation, but to the spiritual world. To misconceive Lord Vishnu, to have a material body, or to equate him with the demigods, is the most offensive blasphemy against Lord Vishnu. The offenders against the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu cannot advance in spiritual knowledge. This is the condition of these sannyasis in Varanasi. They are called Maya Prahrita Gyan, or those whose knowledge has been stolen by the influence of illusion. Maya Prakrita Gyan. This is a wonderful term. One who thinks that there is a difference between Lord Vishnu's body and his soul dwells in the darkest region of ignorance. If we think Lord Vishnu is like us and has a soul but separate to his body, then this is in the most ignorant place of consciousness. There is no difference between Lord Vishnu's body and Vishnu's soul, for they are Advaya Gyan. There are one, not two, Advaya. One knowledge. In this world there is a difference between the material body and the spiritual soul, but in the spiritual world everything is spiritual, and there are no such differences. The great offense of the Mayavadi philosophers is to consider Lord Vishnu and the living entities to be one and the same. Advaita, that is their philosophy. Advaita, they believe that we are one. Advaita. In this connection, the Padma Purana states, Archya Vishnu Shila Dir Gurushu Nara Matya Vaishnave Jati Buddhi Yasya Va Naraki Sa. One who considers the Archamurti, the worshipable deity of Lord Vishnu, to be stone, the spiritual master to be an ordinary human being, and a Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste or creed, is possessed of hellish intelligence. One who follows such conclusions is doomed. These are very, very powerful purports that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is giving here. We should mark their place and position in this chapter, and many times we should reference these when we become in any type of difficulty to dispel this Mayic illusion. These commentaries and purports are powerfully designed to dispel this Mayic illusion. Text 116. Ishvarara tattvayeno jvalita jvalana
Jivare Sparupa Yache Subhilangarkhana.
Translation: The Lord is like a great blazing fire, and the living entities are like small sparks of that fire. Purport: Although sparks and a big fire are both fire. Now this is an important point that Prabhupada says right at the very first part of this sentence. Sparks and fire are both fire. So we have that Sat Chit Ananda within us also. That is there. This is why it's termed Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. YouTube's just gone. And both have the power to burn. The burning power of the fire and that of the spark are not the same. Why should one artificially try to become a big fire, although by constitution he is like a small spark? That's his constitution. He is a small spark. Yet the small spark has the same potency as the fire, but its difference in quantity is enormous. We've said so many times, like a spoonful of water from the ocean. It's the same constituents, but the quantity is completely different. We have to say these things again and again, because in a moment, in a fraction of a second, we forget with the intensity of our desire to enjoy matter. Because by nature we are enjoyers, the same as the Lord is an enjoyer. So that nature of the Lord to enjoy, and if we're not enjoying our spiritual service to Krishna, we're going to try to enjoy matter. Can't help it. You can help it. It's always your choice if we become educated and purified sufficiently. Why should one artificially try to become a big fire, although by constitution he is like a small spark? It is due to ignorance. Ignorance. Tamagun. One should therefore understand that neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor the small spark-like living entities have anything to do with matter. That's wonderful to consider. We have nothing to do with matter. My spirit soul is not constitutionally connected with matter. It's my consciousness that makes me think that. It's the illusion that makes me think that. But when the spiritual spark comes in contact with the material world, his fiery quality is extinguished. I missed a small part out. It is due to ignorance. One should therefore understand that neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor the spiritual spark-like living entities have anything to do with matter. But when the spiritual spark comes in contact with the material world, his fiery quality is extinguished. As soon as I want to enjoy matter, my spiritual potency is reduced. Immediately. As soon as I try to exploit this material energy, I'm confirming in my own mind that I am matter rather than spirit. It's a deep thing, because from birth, from many, many births, Brahman, Konita, Bhagavan, Jiva, from many, many births, I've been thinking like this. That is the position of the conditioned souls. Because they are in touch with the material world, their spiritual quality is almost dead. It's not dead, because it's eternal, because it's of a spiritual nature, so it can't die, but it's almost dead. I'm almost dead in my understanding that actually I'm this material body, and everything in this material world is for me to seek pleasure and comforts in. So this is my focus of life, is to try to exploit the material energy because of my illusion. But because these spiritual sparks are all Krishna's parts and parcels, as the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivam Saha, they can revive their original position by getting free from material contact. There's a beautiful example, of course, in the Jaivedama, again, right in the beginning of Nishag, when the ice block, it's described, if you ask an ice block what is its identity, it'll say what is its nature. It's very hard, but its constitution is actually liquid, but it's become hard through its association and acquired nature. So this acquired nature is called Nishag. So it's the same example. They can revive their original position by getting free from material matter. This is pure philosophical understanding. In the Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual sparks are declared as Sanatan, eternal. Therefore, the material energy, Maya, cannot affect their constitutional position. So he's saying here, this is pure philosophical understanding. Yes, we can understand philosophically, but do you understand in reality? Day by day, are we thinking, I'm not the body? When we're sitting down to a meal to enjoy a meal, are we appreciating that I'm just putting some nutrients into my material body? Why am I looking for so much pleasure in that? There's no pleasure in the material world, but still my conditioning is convincing me that there is, isn't it? So it takes time to purify. That's why we have to hear it again and again and again and again. Someone may argue, why is there a need to create the spiritual sparks? The answer can be given in this way. Now the rest of this purport answers this question. The answer can be given in this way. Since the absolute personality of Godhead is omnipotent, he has both unlimited and limited potencies. This is the meaning of omnipotent. To be omniscient, to be omnipotent, he must have not only unlimited potencies, but limited potencies also. You understand? To be omnipotent, there must be unlimited and limited. To be all-inclusive. Like there's day and night, there's good and evil. All are parts. Someone's saying the video is frozen, but I think it's come out now. Or it was frozen. That was an old message, perhaps. So, limited and unlimited. Krishna is omnipotent, limited and unlimited. He must have not only unlimited potencies, but limited potencies also. Thus, to exhibit his omnipotence, he displays both. The living entities are endowed with limited potency. We are those sparks with limited potency. This is the potency of the Lord, exhibiting his limitless nature in the limited living entities. Although they are part of the Lord, this subject matter confused all the sampradayas previous to Mahaprabhu. They were questioning what is the jiva's nature and relationship with Krishna. They understood that the jiva has the same qualities as Krishna but is infinitesimal. But that relationship they didn't fully understand until Mahaprabhu gave the tattva of Achintya Bheda Abheda. We are one with Krishna and simultaneously we are different to Krishna. So both simultaneously are there. Thus, to exhibit his omnipotence, he displays both. The living entities are endowed with limited potency, although they are part of the Lord. We are part of the Lord, yet we have limited potencies. The Lord displays the spiritual world by his unlimited potencies, whereas by his limited potencies, the material world is displayed. So two displays, the spiritual reality with his unlimited potencies, and this material world with his limited potencies. This means that Krishna has everything. He's omnipotent because he has limited and unlimited in the same personality. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Apariyeham itastva anyam prakritim vidi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho ya yedam daryate jagat. Besides these inferior energies, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises all living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. We are the living entities that are made of superior energy, but we have been covered by the desires to enjoy matter. Therefore, we have taken up the mood of this inferior energy, even though we are superior energy. We are the antaranga energy is our nature, but this bahiranga, this lower energy, has covered us because we are made of tatashta. we can go to either extreme. The Jiva Bhuta, the living entities, control this material world with their limited potencies. Isn't it the fact that with our limited potencies, the Jivas create an environment for the other living entities to live in? Correct? We build everything that is in the world today, cities, roads, trains, etc., has all been inspired by the material consciousness within the material bodies. And we are controlling this through our governments and politics, etc. Of course, Krishna is always the supreme controller, reminding us. But it appears many times that it's the manipulation of the governments that are controlling our situations and our lives, increasing our taxes, allowing us to the facility of flying on planes, and all of this. So much control is there by the living entities in this age of Kali. Previous ages, they were much more submissive to the Lord, and therefore everything was much more perfect in the environment. Satya Yuga, for example, the grains would grow by itself. All the fruits would just drop off the trees. There was very little extra endeavor having to be performed. So as the ages degenerate into Kali Yuga, it seems that man wants to become more exploitive of the material energy. That's what he does. Generally, people are bewildered by the activities of scientists and technologists. I think it's very prophetic, the way that our Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is using the word here, technologists. This was written in 73-74. Technology was there and being used, but it wasn't anything to like the degree that it's being used now. Now this technology is across the planet. We have robots, we have internet, we have Wi-Fi, all across the planets. So this is all due to technologists. So generally people are bewildered by the activities of scientists and technologists. Yeah, we start to think how great and wonderful it is. Due to Maya, they think there is no need of God, and that they can do anything and everything. But actually they cannot. Since this cosmic manifestation is limited, their existence is also limited. Everything in this material world is limited. For this reason, there is creation, sustenance, and dissolution. In the spiritual world, there's no creation, sustenance, or dissolution. The spiritual world is not created because it's eternal. It doesn't have to be sustained because it's eternal, and it is not destroyed because it's eternal. But in this material world, these three qualities are described: creation, sustenance, and dissolution. However, in the world of unlimited energy, the spiritual world, there is neither creation nor destruction. If the personality of Godhead did not possess both limited and unlimited energies, he could not be called omnipotent. Anor aniyan mahato mahiyan. The Lord is greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. He is smaller than the smallest in the form of the living entities, and greater than the greatest in his form of Krishna. If there were no one to control, there would be no meaning to the conception of supreme controller, Ishvara, just as there is no meaning to a king without his subjects. So Prabhupada is still answering this question he posed: why is there need to create the spiritual sparks? If all the subjects became king, there would be no distinction between the king and the ordinary citizens. Thus, for the Lord to be the supreme controller, there must be a creation to control. The basic principle for the existence of the living entities is called Chid Vilas, or spiritual pleasure. The omnipotent Lord displays his pleasure potency as the living entities. So this pleasure potency is manifested from Krishna's Swarup Shakti, as we've already said. The Lord has described in the Vedanta Sutra, the Lord is described in Vedanta Sutra as Ananda Moya Vyasat. He is by nature the reservoir of all pleasure. So Krishna is the nature, the reservoir of all pleasure, and simultaneously the jiva has that same quality of being enjoying, that enjoying mood, so that he can give pleasure to Krishna. If that wasn't there, how could that please Krishna, satisfy Krishna? But because this pleasure desire is within the heart of the jiva, he becomes very confused if he doesn't know the pleasures and sweetness of devotional service. The only alternative he has is to eat, drink and be merry in this material world. That's the only alternative he has, to again seek pleasure. The devotees are learning these topics significantly. And because he wants to enjoy pleasure, there must be energies to give him pleasure or supply him the impetus for pleasure. So we are those pleasurable objects for Krishna. Every jiva has within him the rasa with Krishna, this eternal rasa, this eternal relationship with Krishna. This staibhav is within all jivas. And Krishna wants to relish that rasa even more than the jivas have a desire for it initially. But Krishna desires to enjoy the jiva's natural relationship with him. But the jivas get distracted. But when the jiva starts to wake up his natural spiritual identity, then his natural rasa will manifest in his heart, and at that time Krishna will get great pleasure in reciprocating with that natural spiritual rasa. In the 5 rasas or 4 rasas, this madhurya, this vatsalya, sakya and dasya, these rasas. This is the perfect philosophical understanding of the absolute truth. So again, we have the words here describing which are like a cooling balm on the conditioned souls. But the words are the beginning of the process. The realization of these words is the actual practice and the activities of the devotees in their daily lives. And these we take our guidance from Sri Guru and all his teachings and understandings of how to live in this world. This is the philosophical conclusion. And this has to be there initially, to be inspired to perform the first stage, Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapa, to control the mind. We have to be inspired to want to control the mind. If we don't get this inspiration, how will we proceed? So this inspiration comes from the Shastra. Text 117. Jiva Tattva Shakti Chak Krishna Tattva Shakti. Jiva Tattva Shakti Krishna Tattva Shakti Man. Gita Vishnu Puranadi Tahite Praman. Translation. The living entities are energies, not the energetic. We are not God. Krishna is the energetic, like the sun, and we are like the rays of the sun. We are the energies of the sun. The energetic is Krishna. This is vividly described in the Bhagavad Gita, the Vishnu Purana, and other literatures. Purport. As already explained, there are 3 prashnanas on the path of advancement in spiritual knowledge, namely Nyaya Prasthana, Vedanta philosophy, Shruti Prasthana, the Upanishads and Vedic mantras, and Smriti Prasthana, the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Puranas, etc. Unfortunately, Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the Smriti Prasthana. Smriti is what is remembered. Shruti is what is heard. So the Upanishads and the Vedic mantras is what we hear. We hear these Upanishads. These are spoken directly by the Lord. And the Smriti, which are remembered in Bhagavad Gita, the instructions, and the Mahabharata, the Puranas, etc., they are the Smriti. Now the Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the Smriti Prasthana. Smriti refers to the conclusions drawn from the Vedic evidence. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the authority of the Bhagavad Gita and the Puranas, and this is called Ardha Kukuti Nyaya, the logic of half a hen, just thinking that I'll just keep the egg, the part of the hen that produces the egg, and the part that I have to feed I'll cut off. I'll just have this half hen logic. This is insane. See Adi-lila 7.115. If one believes in the Vedic literatures, one must accept all the Vedic literatures recognized by the great acharyas. Yes, you can't not accept the Smriti, like the Mayavadis are not accepting Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata because they're completely personal. Simultaneously, the Upanishads are directive instructions. But the Mayavadi philosophers accept only the Nyaya Prasthana and the Shruti Prasthana, rejecting the Smriti Prasthana. Here, however, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cites evidence from the Gita, Vishnu Purana, etc., which are Smriti Prasthana. No one can avoid the personality of Godhead in the statements of the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, such as the Mahabharata and the Puranas. Lord Chaitanya therefore quotes a passage from the Bhagavad Gita 7.5. So this is text 118.
Apariyam itastva anyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat.
Translation. Besides these inferior energies, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. If we understand this topic, if we can really come down on this topic, we have realized everything. Everything is understood just by hearing patiently these subject matters. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, constitute the gross energy of the absolute truth. And there are also 3 subtle energies. So within the earth, water, fire, air, and space or ether, then there are the 5 sense objects simultaneously, sense, taste, form, touch, sound. And then there are the 5 knowledge senses, 5 working senses, etc. And then there are these 3 subtle energies. Subtle because you can't see them directly. So this is namely the mind, intelligence, and false ego, or identification with the phenomenal world. So this is how deep is our identification with the phenomenal world, because our mind, intelligence, and false ego are totally related to this material world. Thus, the entire cosmic manifestation is divided into 8 energies, all of which are inferior. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Mama Maya Duratyaya, the inferior energy known as Maya is so strong that although the living entity does not belong to this energy, due to the superior strength of the inferior energy, the living entity, Jiva Bhuta, forgets his real position and identifies with it. This is just the same as the Nisarga just described. The iceberg is thinking that it's hard. It's thinking that's its swabhav, its nature. But it's not its nature. Its nature is liquid. Our nature is fully spiritually devotional to the Lord. That's our nature, our intrinsic nature. But because of so much association with this material energy and allowing our material desires to eclipse our minds constantly, not just once or twice a day, but 1,000 times a day. Due to the superior strength of the inferior energy, the living entity, Jiva Bhuta, forgets his real position and identifies with it. Krishna says distinctly that beyond the material energy there is a superior energy which is known as the Jiva Bhuta, or living entities. When in contact with the material energy, this superior energy conducts all the activities of the entire material phenomenal world. So all these activities we've just described, the way this world is run, etc., are subjected to the material conceptions of materially motivated individuals that create a material environment. The supreme cause is Krishna, Janmadhyasya Yata, who is the origin of all energies which work variously. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has both inferior and superior energies, and the difference between them is that the superior energy is factual, whereas the inferior energy is a reflection of the superior. So the inferior energy is not even a reality. It is a reality in the sense, but it's temporary. A reflection of the sun in a mirror or on water appears to be the sun, but it is not. Similarly, the material world is but a reflection of the spiritual world. Although it appears to be factual, it is not, because it's temporary, and we all know we're going to die. It is only a temporary reflection, whereas the spiritual world is a factual, eternal reality. The material world, with its gross and subtle forms, is merely a reflection of the spiritual world. The living entity is not a product of the material energy. He is spiritual energy. Where is the material energy? Where is the jiva come from? He's come from a spiritual place. All of us, we've come from the Brahman. We've come in that seed that was carried by Shambhu. We're essentially spiritual by nature. But coming in contact and association with this material world, we've come to believe that we're matter, that we're subject to the laws of nature. But in contact with matter, he forgets his identity. Thus, the living entity identifies himself with matter and enthusiastically engages in material activities in the guise of technologists, scientist, philosopher, etc. Again, he's saying technologists. He does not know that he is not at all a material product, but is spiritual. We get reminded of our spiritual identity by coming to the temple, by engaging in kirtan, by associating with devotees, by studying the spiritual shastras, by chanting Hare Krishna, by chanting spiritual mantras. All of these activities, by working directly under the guidance of Sri Guru, then we engage in spiritual activities to wake up our spiritual dormant consciousness once again. His identity thus being lost, he struggles very hard in the material world. And the Hare Krishna movement, or Krishna consciousness movement, is trying to revive his original consciousness. His activities in manufacturing big skyscrapers are evidence of intelligence. Yes, this indicates intelligence. Creating cities, railways, roads, etc., that's intelligent. But it's all material intelligence. But this kind of intelligence is not at all advanced. Who can say that it's advanced to live in a crowded city? Who can say that's advancement of civilization? What sort of culture would manifest in an environment of that nature? Everyone jammed in so closely together, the air being polluted by these motor cars, etc., by oil pollutants everywhere. I mean, our whole society lives in such a degraded way. There's no civilization. His activities in manufacturing big skyscrapers are evidence of intelligence. But this kind of intelligence is not at all advanced. But even though we live in this shocking environment, we have this one truth. What's that? Kaler dosha nidhi rajan asti heko mahan guna. Even though this Kali Yuga is an ocean of false, mahan guna, but there is one good quality. This kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha parambrajat. This chanting of the holy name. Even though we're in this abominable condition, we have this holy name. And because of this abominable condition, it helps to make us desperate in this abominable condition. No gentleman can live in this material world, really. It's not a gentleman's world where gentle souls interact with each other. It's a very violent, passionate, ignorant world we live in. But if we have this one quality, Mahagunam, of this holy name, how compassionate is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to manifest this in the darkest Kali Yuga, in all the Kali Yugas. How compassionate is this Mahaprabhu? And we are recipients right now of this holy name. So what fortune do we have now? Our fortune is inestimable. His activity, he should know that his only real concern is how to get free from material contact. But that's not by the path of mukti. For by absorbing his mind in material activities, he takes material bodies again and again. And although he falsely claims to be very intelligent in material consciousness, he is not at all intelligent. The materialist today considers this civilization today to be very highly developed and advanced because he can make robots replace simple workers in factories, etc. Ugra-kam it's called. It's unwanted civilization products are produced. They're unwanted. You just walk around and look at the stupid things that they sell on the stalls, etc. Completely unnecessary, just to distract the mind like a child, having so many little bells and colours in front of it. You know, and they call this a highly advanced civilization. The general materialists think like this. I'm not just saying this. They genuinely think like this. They genuinely think that they're very highly advanced in their civilization of comforts, etc. There's far greater comforts in the lower subterranean planets. If you read in the 5th canto, they have all kinds of ointments and creams for dispelling old age and wrinkles, etc. Any sort of diseases we can read next time. I don't have the list with me, but there's a whole. They can help ease old age, etc. in the subterranean heavenly planets. There's so many things that they have that are even more advanced than this material planet, but they don't have the holy name. This is the point. We have to accept our situation and rejoice and celebrate because we have the holy name. When we speak about the Krishna consciousness movement, which is meant to make people intelligent, the conditioned living entity therefore understands it. He is so engrossed in the material concept of life that he does not think there can be any activities that are actually based on intelligence beyond the construction of skyscrapers and big roads and the manufacturing of cars. And what is the consequence of this in this civilization? If we actually consider the mental quality of practically most of the people on the planet are stressed, maxed out in all kinds of anxiety ways. So where has that led to a happier situation? Isn't it just, an unintelligent man can just see straight away this is not adding to the pleasures of life really at all. It's just creating raw anxiety, crunching time, where we have no time for proper friendships. Usually these days they're all done online, where you don't actually even interact with a live person. So this is the nature of the world we live in. But we have this one good quality, Mahan Guna, of chanting Hare Krishna. He is so engrossed in the material concept of life that he does not think there can be any activities that are actually based on intelligence beyond the construction of skyscrapers and big roads and the manufacturing of cars. So unintelligent. Everything in the material realm. This is proof of Maya Prakrita Gyan. Maya Prakrita Gyan, or loss of all intelligence due to the influence of Maya. So when we believe the strength and potency of Maya, then we can start to sit back a little bit from Maya. We can start to appreciate. It's like someone who knows he's mad is not really so mad anymore. One who understands that he's fully stressed, etc., then he can start to relieve that material disease. So when we understand the extraordinary potency of this Mayic illusory energy through these purports, then we can start to step back a little bit from it, internally. It won't happen externally. Externally the world will always be a crazy place. But internally we need to, you can't go anywhere. YouTube just cut again. It's saying finished. Okay. So we're just on Facebook now. When a living entity is freed from such misconceptions, he is called liberated. So this freedom from conceptions, this liberated state, is still a material state, as we've said. This state of moksha is liberated. It's just liberated, is material, rather. When one is actually liberated, he no longer identifies with the material world. The symptoms of mukti, liberation, is that one engages in spiritual activities instead of falsely engaging in material activities. So what were the activities that the Varanasi sannyasis were engaging in? They were engaging in the study of Vedanta, but they weren't engaging in the study of Goloka Vrindavan, or even Vaikuntha, or even the spiritual realms. They were just engaging in spiritual debates about the nature of the jiva, and the jiva being one with Krishna, this Advaitavad. This is what is and their desire to become liberated. These were their activities. Transcendental loving devotional service is the spiritual activity of the spirit's soul. Mayavadi philosophers confuse the spiritual activities with material activity. And the Bhagavad Gita confirms, Mam chayo vyapicharena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in the spiritual activities of unalloyed devotional service, abhyacharani bhakti, is immediately elevated to the transcendental platform, and he is to be considered Brahmabhuta, which indicates that he is no longer in the material world, but is in the spiritual world. Devotional service is enlightenment or awakening. When the living entity perfectly performs spiritual activities under the direction of the spiritual master, he becomes perfect in knowledge and understands that he is not God, but a servant of God, and that means a living spiritual master. We can't accept a spiritual master who has already left this world as being our guide. He can give us so many direct instructions. The ultimate guidance has to be done by that living guru. As explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Saruphoy Krishnera Nityadas, the real identity of the living entity is that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme. This is from Caitanya Caritamrta Adi-lila 7.115. As long as one does not come to this conclusion, he must be in ignorance. This is also confirmed by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanamante Yanavam Mam Pravadyate Sa Mahatma Sudurlava. After many births of struggling for existence and cultivating knowledge, when one comes to the point of real knowledge, he surrenders unto me. Such an advanced Mahatma, or great soul, is very rarely to be seen. Very rarely, because it's not easy to overcome this Mayic illusion. Only by complete dedication is one going to overcome this Mayic illusion. There's no other recourse. It has to be 100%. Bhakti Rakshakshriya Maharaj used to say, die to live. What has to die? The material false ego has to die. And then one can live properly as a spiritual being in this world in his real spiritual identity. We can attain that now. As long as one does not come to this conclusion, he must be in ignorance. This is also confirmed by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, I've just read that. Bahonam janmanam ante yanavam mam prapadyeta sa mahatma sadulava. After many births of struggling for existence and cultivating knowledge, when one comes to the point of real knowledge, he surrenders unto me. Such an advanced Mahatma or great soul is very rarely to be seen. Thus, although the Mayavadi philosophers appear to be very much advanced in knowledge, they are not yet perfect. To come to the point of perfection, they must voluntarily surrender to Krishna. So I'm going to stop here. It seems our YouTube has already stopped, but we'll push the Facebook version across into the YouTube afterwards. So, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai. What an amazing philosophy has been presented. If we can catch it and take it to heart, our lives will become completely successful. But it takes time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavescha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.